Alrighty, guys, we are back. This time with some Homebrew. This one I've been sitting on for actually quite a while. In fact, Trooper Geo's been kind of hounding me on this one because I've been just outright forgetting about it. Hold on a second. Ugh. There we go. Now, the Sons of Aire. I keep wanting to pronounce it Aire. Apparently, it's pronounced Area. Trooper Geo keeps getting mad about that because they keep calling it Aire. Ireland's Lost Sons. So the Sons of Aire are a loyalist space marine chapter from an unknown founding. The Sons of Aire are descendant from the 9th Legion of the Legiones Astartes, the Blood Angels. Ooh. Their name is derived from their homeworld, which is called Aire. Aire is a planet that is very unique. This is because the planet did not fall into technological regression during the Age of Strife, and Aire still has records of their people's history before the Age of Strife. This history dates all the way back to the planet's colonization. The planet's original colonists came from Ireland and ancient Terra. Because of this, Aire is enriched with ancient culture of the Irish people. This includes naming places on their planet after places in Ireland. The planet's archives also have the history of Ireland still intact. The people of Aire speak fluent English, Low Gothic, but are able to learn 2 extra languages when they go to school. These languages are Gaelic, the original language of the Irish people, and High Gothic. Ooh, interesting. During 320 M33, a new chapter of Adeptus Astartes was created and claimed Aire as their homeworld. Upon setting up their fortress monastery in Aire, they named themselves the Sons of Aire. Eventually, the Irish culture seeped into the chapter, and because of this, they practice a lot of Celtic traditions. For example, they practice what is known as Samhain. Samhain is similar to Halloween. The people of Aire leave medallions outside their homes on October 31st to ward off bad spirits from entering their homes. The chapter leaves their medallions outside their fortress monastery. Another tradition is the Great Hunt, where Marines will go and hunt the native animals of Aire, so they may cook their prey in great feast on the 24th of December, known as Nolog. I prefer Nolog. However, they are also successors of the Blood Angels, which means they also practice the Blood Angel traditions. This created a hybrid culture that the chapter and the planet would soon come to embrace. The Marines' wool gear is fairly straightforward. For a Blood Angel successor, they prefer getting up close and personal when in combat, so every warrior carries a melee weapon on them at all times. However, their knives and swords feature a lot of Celtic rune designs on their hilts and crossguards. The chapter's organization is exactly the same as the Blood Angels organization. Each company has 110 Marines in it. There are 2 10-man close support squads, 2 10-man fire support squads, 6 10-man battle line squads, and 1 10-man command squad who acts as the company's captain's bodyguard, as well as the captain's veteran squad. Okay. So there's a lot here. There's a lot of uniqueness about them. So off the bat, we have it that they're Blood Angel successors. We already know that they practice a lot of Celtic traditions. I don't know much about Celtic culture and Celtic traditions, unfortunately, so I really... Whew, going over my head. All I know is about Celtics is that they're in England. That's it. We know their homeworld is called Aire, and we know that they have like a lot of Irish traditions. So there's probably like a lot of potatoes on the planet. There's probably a lot of gingery people too. So if you see a space marine who's very gingery, probably a Sons of Aire. Something that's kind of weird here is about how the homeworld didn't fall to the Age of Strife. Now, some people may raise an eyebrow to that. Some people may go, oh, that's not lore accurate. But technically it is. There have been plenty of planets that didn't fall to the Age of Strife. But their technology didn't grow. So just because they didn't fall didn't mean that they have higher technology than the rest of the Imperium. No, there's actually been a few planets that never dealt with the Men of Iron. They never dealt with the Chaos Warp Storms. They were just simply cut off from everybody in the galaxy. But they didn't grow into these empires. They didn't make progressive new technological advancements. This is particular with the night houses on certain planets. Some night houses, they just simply kept the knights running, the big war machine knights. They just kept them running. They didn't know anything else. They knew how to maintain their technology, but they didn't know much else besides that. They didn't know how to cultivate new technologies. So I could see this being a probability where you have a world that looks almost like the Imperium. It's got STCs, it's got nice culture in it, all this fun stuff. It's got some well-maintained technology, but besides that, it's pretty identical to the Imperium already. It's just, it never grew, which most likely probably happened. So I do like that bit. I love on how he explains to how they got the Irish culture is because they came from Ireland. Now, we don't know much about before the Age of Strife. We just knew that humanity was advancing so technologically rapid that it actually spiraled out of control. So with that being said, we don't actually know if Ireland culture still existed, if Ireland was even considered a thing at this point. That is kind of a lore issue I have, is that Warhammer 40k, even Warhammer 30k, is supposed to be so far into the future that nations, cultures, religions that we know today are pretty much gone. They're just dust. Like in the one book, The Last Church of Terra, the church on Terra, that's the last one, is some weird religion about a lightning stone and stuff like that. No religion today is like that. And you could see when they talk about religion, Big E and the priest, you can tell they're talking about religions that don't actually exist today, but future religions. But of course, those religions do seem to bear a little bit of semblance to religions that we have today, like suicide bombings, terrorist attacks, stuff like that. Not saying it's the religion's fault, just saying that it's easy for certain religions to ignite people's passions. And apparently some people's passions, once they're ignited, is to be in a million pieces. So that's one of the issues I do have here. But I do like how detailed it is. My phone keeps buzzing. I do like on how he's talking about how a company is 110 Marines, and he tells about how many squads there are, what kind of squad formations. So if you're to take this into a tabletop setting, you're like, oh, this scenario, the orc war boss is about to destroy a very valuable object, so they deploy the whole company. You'd be like, oh, the whole company, huh? Okay. So then you do exactly this. Exactly these 110 Marines. That's one of the nice things I like this. Also, he adds some interesting design choices for the Marines' war gear. It's like not only are they having Celtic traditions and Irish traditions, but you can also see it in their design, their livery. You can see it like carved into their weapons, little Celtic runes. I don't know what Celtic runes look like. Let me actually look it up. This is Celtic, I guess. So you'd expect to see a lot of this shit on a Space Marine, probably. I wish he would kind of throw a picture up there, though, like showing a dagger, and you just see like all the Celtic runes on it. That would be nice. That would be nice. But let's scroll down a little bit more. Squad identification is the exact same as Blood Angel's method of identifying squads. Okay, I like that a lot. I like that a lot. Because again, something I have an issue with some people's homebrews. And this is actually one of the reasons why I hate the new Salamander successor chapters in the lore. Is that when you're a successor chapter, very rarely are you right off the bat totally different from your original chapter. Like, the Mortificators chapter is so alien compared to the Ultramarines chapter, but they didn't start off like that overnight. It took them a few hundred years to develop that. That wasn't new. That wasn't instant. They didn't just pop out of there and go, okay, you're no longer Ultramarines now, you're the Mortificators. We're the Mortificators? Okay, skulls, eat the dead, yeah. No, they didn't start that way. It's a slow assimilation over time. So if you saw Mortificators when they were first created, you'd probably think they were Ultramarines, just different colors. This is what I like. Is that everything here is unique, shows some Blood Angel stuff, And then here it's like they haven't changed that much. That crazy, ridiculous change. I do like that. So green helmets mean the Marine is a member of the battle line squad, tactical intercessor, heavy intercessor, infiltrator squad. Judging by how he has intercessor in there, I'm assuming there's probably Primaris in this. Orange helmets means the Marine's a member of the close support squad, assault intercessor, incursor squad, inceptor, outrider, and land speeder crew. Interesting. Okay. White helmets mean the Marine is a member of the fire support squad. Examples would be Devastator, Hellblaster, Eradicator, Eliminator, and Aggressor squad. I like the big ass power fist. I like that. The big ass power fist.
Oh.
They can hear you, you know that, right?
What? Jeez.
Yeesh. My wife's like fingering herself or something in the background.
What? What did you say? What did you say?
What?
What?
Nothing. I love you.
Don't tell you what I want.
I was just saying you're like fingering yourself or something in the background. What? Nothing. I love you, baby. You don't get it. Gold helmets. Gold helmets mean the Bow Brother is a veteran who has served in the first company or is currently serving in the first company. The majority of the chapter veterans are firstborn Marines. Okay, good, good. Since they have more experience than the new Primaris, veterans can be found in Stern Guard squads, Vanguard squads, Terminator squads, Blade Guard squads, Veteran Intercessor squads, and company. Okay. Interesting, interesting. So there is a slight chance you would see maybe 1 or 2 squads of Primaris gold helmets, but overall it primarily would be just regular stuff. See, I like these details because not many people would put this amount of effort into their lore for their homebrew stuff. Because I see some people who just, when they make a homebrew, it's just so out of whack. It's so crazy. It's like, dude, did you really put any thought into it? But this has clearly put a lot of thought into it, which is good. Like, he even puts an intercessor in there, which is great. Because if it's a Primaris, it probably would be. Next, we have Chapter Command. Okay, so this is more regular Blood Angel, yeah. Sanguinary Guard. Ooh, interesting. Brother Rafin Clark, leader of the Sanguinary Guard. 33 Sanguinary Guard, 1 Sanguinary Ancient. Interesting. Reclusium. Cillian the Red. I guess that's a Irish thing. High Chaplain of the Sons of Aire, 20 Chaplains, 10 Heirloom, High Chaplain's Bodyguard, 10 Judicars. Ooh, interesting. Sanguinary Priesthood. Brother Sean Donovan, High Sanguinary Priest, 25 Sanguinary Priests, 10 Apothecaries, 5 Apothecaries in training. Ooh, interesting. Librarius? Oh, wow, that's damn near empty. Wow. There's barely any librarians. Librarian Dreadnought, yeah. Company identifications. Okay, so it's standard Blood Angel. Yeah, this is pretty damn standard. Okay. The first company uses the Crux Terminatus as their company symbol within the Sons of Aire. There are 4 houses that Marines come from. They are House Ulster, Leinster, Munster, and Connacht. Their coat of arms are as follows. I don't know if these have any like cultural significance because I'm not very literate in Ireland culture. I just know that Ireland's actually separate from the UK, which is more than most Americans. Other traits the chapter has. A chapter has every other success. Let me take a sip here. The Sons of Aire, however, are extremely paranoid about their secret getting out. While other Sons of Sanguinius do not want their secret to get out, the Sons of Aire take this paranoia to an extreme. The only Space Marines they talk to are other Sons of Sanguinius, the Death Watch, and the Black Templars. The reason they talk to Death Watch is because they wish to keep tabs on the members of the chapter that are serving in the Death Watch, which is a very low number to begin with. The Sons of Aire, due to their paranoia, won't give members to the Death Watch regularly. They will only give Marines to the Death Watch when they absolutely have to. And even then, they only give 3 or 4 Marines to the Death Watch. The reason they talk to the Black Templars is because the Templars tend to have a Crusade fleet in their home system, since there are a lot of Forge worlds that offer resupply to Marine chapters, and the Black Templars take full advantage of the large amounts of resupply worlds. Okay. So that makes sense, because you would expect if your homeworld is out on the fringes of space, that's usually where the Crusade fleets typically are. So it would be expected for the Black Templars to be around. So we know roughly their location is going to be kind of like on the outermost edges of the Imperium. Another trait their chapter has is that they do not possess much librarians. Yeah, no shit. There was like barely any. This is because the Sons of Aire gene seed is mutated to the point where it is not very compatible with Psychers. He misspelled it. Because of this, any psychic initiate whose body accepts the gene seed is very valuable to the chapter. Because of this, the chapter puts a high prize on librarians and does not put them in the front lines often due to their non-expendable nature. Because of the lack of librarians, the chapter has double the amount of chaplains and apothecaries in their midst to make up for the small number of librarians. Okay. So interesting here is that if you were playing as the Sons of Aire, you wouldn't really be able to defend yourself against psychic attacks because, as stated, there's a very low amount of librarians. Now, with that being said, they do deal a lot with the Black Templars, so I guess you could mix and match some of the rules of the Black Templars with the Sons of Aire, but I feel like lore-wise, lore speaking, just because you talk with the Black Templars doesn't mean you assimilate anything from the Black Templars. Because mind you, Black Templars have like no librarians. So when it comes to this, I would say this chapter would be very susceptible. So if you bring like one orc weird boy, or you bring one chaos sorcerer, whew, you're gonna be just casting spells for free, my dude. You're not gonna have any competition. I don't know what I hit on my keyboard, but it just flew my fucking cursor up. During 935 M41, the chapter approached the High Lords of Terra and asked for permission to build a small recruiting monastery on Terra. The High Lords were hesitant at first because they didn't want too many Marines taking up the space on Terra since the Imperial Fists already have a contingent on the planet. The High Lords asked why, and the chapter replied saying they wished to build a recruiting station in the region of Terra where Ireland used to be, so they could get recruits from their spiritual home. The High Lords asked how many Marines would be manning this monster and responded a chaplain and 5 veterans. The High Lords accepted as it wasn't a large monastery, and its purpose was solely that of getting new recruits for the chapter. Another reason the High Lords said yes was because of their combat record, having fought for the Imperium 8,000 years and never asked for anything in return until then. Okay. Bit of an issue here. Again, 40k is so far into the future. If you went up to the High Lords and said, I just want where America used to be, the High Lords are going to look at you and go, what the fuck is an America? I don't know what the fuck an America is. No one would know what an Ireland is. Nobody. So issue here is that if you said, oh, the area where Ireland used to be, they're going to look at you and go, where is that? Like, what? Like, I don't get it. And then here's some other interesting stuff too, is that they just want to recruit Irish boys. But, I just don't see it because, again, we don't know really much about how Earth has, like, changed over time. So in other words, gingery people could have been just totally, like, wiped out just from breeding with people who aren't ginger. Also, they could have migrated, so now where Ireland used to be, instead all the Irish people just kind of picked up their bags and moved somewhere else that could grow potatoes better. We don't know. So a lot of like Earth's history, Terra's history, I just wouldn't expect this to really settle. And then the High Lord saying yes, I probably would doubt it. You okay, babe? What's wrong? You're like laughing your ass off over there. Recruits who are recruited from Terra will live in the monastery until the end of the month, when their journey begins to Aire. Once arriving in Aire, they will begin their training. One trial that is valued by the chapter is a hunting trials, where a recruit is to venture out into the forest of Aire to hunt down a native predator and bring back the corpse of said predator. If you successfully complete this trial, you'll become a scout marine. If you fail, you have to repeat the trial. What? Recruits are recruited from Terra. Okay. For 1 month. Then they are sent to Aire. Once arriving at Aire, they begin their training. One trial is where the recruit is to venture out in the forest to hunt down a predator and bring back the corpse. Okay, so this must be like the last trial of your chain. Okay, my bad. I thought I read this wrong. I was like, what? Like, you just got recruited, and in a month you're expected to kill a predator, and now you're a scout marine? Like, that is like, whoo, that is really fast recruitment. But no, I just read it wrong. So you're training, and then one of your last trials of a recruit to transition to a scout is to hunt. Okay. I may have read that like way too quick, and I was like, what? You just went from a recruit a month ago to now you're a scout marine? Damn, that's fast. Notable campaigns, the chapter's participant. I'm probably not going to read all this. Yeah, this is just a lot of additional stuff. Chapter pushed back rebel forces rather quickly. Chapter sent a squad of scouts to find and locate rebel stronghold and planet. Scouts to find a stronghold and now destroyed a hive city. Scouts' horror, the rebels were in fact corrupted by chaos and were opening up a portal to bring members of the Iron Warriors Trade Legion into the battlefield. Without hesitation, the scouts reported this back to Captain Lysander of the 3rd Company. Lysander told the scouts to mark the target for orbital bombardment. Flattened by orbital bombardment. Soon after, the campaign came to an end with the Imperial forces managing to pull off a victory in the system. Devastation of Baal. Okay, this is probably important. Devastation of Baal took place in 999 M41. We were able to get 1 company of Marines to Baal. The company would fight alongside the Carmine Blades and Angels of Sanguine in defense of the Blood Angels' homeworld. When the battle concluded, they were given 50 Primaris Marines by Lord Gilliman. They accepted them, however, they were very suspicious of them, and they just appeared out of the blue. For the few years after, the chapter's sanguinary priests would keep a close eye on the ever-growing number of Primaris. Okay, so they don't trust the Primaris. Okay, that's good, that's good. Oh, okay, he's got tabletop rules. This is great. If the Sons of Aire are to be played in tabletop game of Warhammer 40k, they use the Blade Master set of rules found in the Blood Angel Successor Codex. They also use the Duelist stratagem to give them extra attacks when in melee. This allows them to reroll failed melee attacks. To paint the chapter, their green power armor is primed with Mechanicus Standard Gray. Then an undercoat. Okay, that's totally useless for me. Their white shoulder pauldrons are done with a primer. Okay. So this is nice, you know, if you ever do want to create this chapter, you can do it. It's a very melee-oriented chapter. Which is actually pretty good because of all the apothecaries you can field. You could probably put, like, 3 apothecaries down, which would be nice if you're going so many melee. But now you guys know how to paint it. Okay, that's nice. Alright. So, lore-wise, I'm very ignorant about Celtic traditions and Irish culture. Don't really care for it either. It's not something I'm going to look up on my spare time. But so far it's pretty good. It's just that my only issue is, of course, having such a strong nationality tie and such a strong culture tie to Ireland is actually a bit of a bad thing. I like it that Aire is a planet of Irish people that is just untouched. I like that idea a lot. They're not like super crazy amazing. They're just a Forge world that just simply didn't get bothered with. So I would love to see if this guy could make an Ireland Mechanicus on that planet. That would be very interesting as well. Because just about every Forge world has a Mechanicus contingent somewhere on there. I do like it too that they have a lot of Blood Angel traditions. They're not that crazy deviant from the Blood Angels, which is good. As I said, it's always been my issue with people is they'll say something like, "Oh, my chapter is part of Fulgrim, but they're not perfect at anything. They don't wear any of the colors. They actually don't care about culture. They don't care about anything. They're this." I'm like, that is extremely different from the Emperor's Children, blah, blah, blah. And it's something that I've seen a lot of times in Homebrew. Sometimes there's good justification for it. Like, if you've been a chapter for 8,000 years like this chapter's been, I would expect heavy deviancy. I would expect a lot of changes. But at the same time, if your group is very fanatical, very into their traditions, very into their cultures, and haven't had too many crazy engagements, like the Dark Hunters, they weren't that old and they were really different from the White Scars, only because they've had major engagements with certain factions that cause them to change. But this chapter doesn't seem to have really any major engagement, any major shit. So it makes sense, lore-wise, that they would be so similar still to the Blood Angels. That makes a lot of sense to me. Now, if you were to, like, as I said, do this chapter, you would have to research a little bit about Celtic runes so you could inscribe it on your guys' armor and stuff. Like, I would love to see a librarian who's got, like, a bunch of, what's it called? Like a tabard or something over him, and you just put a bunch of runes on there, a bunch of, like, cloth, his robe, his little, like, robe, it just has a shit ton of it on. That'd be really interesting. Of course, someone like me wouldn't understand right off the bat because I had to look up what Celtic runes were. I have no idea. So besides that, this has been the Sons of Aire. Overall, I'd give it a good like 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10. The reason why it's not like a 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10 is just because I have an issue with the whole Ireland thing. Also, the planet Aire isn't really described at all. So we don't know much about Aire. We just know it didn't suffer from the Age of Strife and it's somehow a Forge world, but we don't know much about it. We don't know what kind of predators are on there. We don't know anything about it. Like, they say one of the trials is to hunt a predator, so I'm assuming the predators are probably tough. But at the same time, the White Scars, they hunt the animals on Chigoris, and they're not that deadly. They're not that amazingly difficult predators to hunt. So it's like, I don't know. It's one of those things where it kind of needs to be expanded on that, on the planet itself, because it seems like the planet is very important. That's what I'm getting from most of this lore, is that the planet of Aire is very important to this chapter. Great. Explain that. Explain what's so weird about this planet. Maybe this planet is exactly like Ireland, but just huge. So it's just a little bit of hills, a lot of potato fields, just whoosh, this huge area. But they did put some houses here. I unfortunately don't understand them because I don't know much about Ireland. So I can already bet people are going to probably be disliking this video like, oh my god, just do some fucking research. Yeah, no. You're not going to be expected to learn everything. Like, if I came over and I said, yeah, my Space Marine chapter is based on the Minoan culture, blah, blah, blah. And then you say, I don't know what the fuck Minoan is. What am I going to do? Dislike you and be like, wow, research some Minoan culture, you fucking uncultured swine? Yeah, no. I do like it too that they're very paranoid about the Black Rage and the Red Thirst. I do like that. But he didn't mention anywhere about the Space Marine squads for those who were just lost in the Black Rage and the Red Thirst. Again, that's why I give it like a 7 or 8, not a 9 or 10. Because he doesn't mention that. Like, how are they different? Because I would love to see that too. Like, these green Space Marines who are too lost in the Red Thirst and the Black Rage, to where you just see it where their armor is inscribed with a bunch of Celtic runes, kind of like Space Wolves, and they're just ripping into people with their bare hands or with their fucking swords. I would love to see that. Also, I would love to see Sanguinary Guard. Like, is there any slight differences to their Sanguinary Guard versus the Sanguinary Guard of the Blood Angels? I would like to know that. Again, the reason why it's a 7 or 8 out of 10 is just because the person puts a lot of emphasis on the planet, doesn't explain it. He keeps mentioning about the nationality of Ireland, which I understand Trooper Geo is Irish. So it's something that, again, you're going to have to explain it. What makes it so amazing? Like, does area stand for something? Is that Irish for, like, fertile world or something? I don't know. So it's just something that you just need to kind of explain more and just give it more story to it. Of course, I'm not going to read, like, every fucking campaign, even though it's nice. I do like it that he puts tabletop rules, so for those of you who wish to play it, he also puts on how to paint, because Trooper Geo tends to paint a lot. So I do like that. I do like it that you could just basically whip out the Blood Angels Codex and just use these stratagems. You're fine. The only issue is that I don't think he said anything about vehicles. Did anyone else see a vehicle? I saw he said something about, where is it? Land speeder crew. That's it. He didn't say anything else about vehicles. He talked about scouts riding their bikes, but that was it. So there's really not a whole lot here about like dreadnoughts. Because again, I would love to see that. A dreadnought with a bunch of Celtic runes on it, something like that. But that's about it for me. This has been Freer 700. I'm out. This has been the Sons of Aire. I hope you guys enjoyed. And again, if you think I'm being a little too hard on the lore, you can always comment down below. If you think I am being a little bit too forgiving, in which case you want me to just rip into this lore again, just let me know. Maybe say something that's like really outlandish that I didn't catch on to. But would I ever use this in a tabletop? Probably not, only because I'd have to do a lot of research on my own to figure out what Celtic cultures are, Celtic traditions, Irish culture and Irish traditions. And again, he doesn't specify like what kind of stuff it would be. Like, I don't know if the chapter puts certain importances on like hating people who are English descent or not. I got no idea. There's just not enough there. So, this has been me. I am out. See you guys next time. You got like 6 different faces of me down here.